abuse for what I do.
It's extremely frightening.
Gender has become a battleground. Issue so toxic, violence has erupted.
These radical feminists, they'd lost the plot.
Are, by definition, male.
We know that 80% have penises.
Fight.
It's the fight for the right to be a woman.
I like this because clearly you can just ignore it. It doesn't hurt you in any single way at all.
This does not affect me whatsoever, but I'm still very bothered by it.
Stop it. I don't like it.
Testing. You know what? Let me just get an appropriate background for this video. Hey there, my dudes. I'm Laddie. Welcome to another video. Well, I'm having a quarter-life crisis. My hair is thinning, I have frosted tips, I look like I've gotten out of a time machine from the 90s, and my therapist hasn't called me back in a long time, so I thought I would make this because, I don't know, I just need a rant sometimes. You guys can be my therapist. You know that your life has gone somewhere when your therapist blocks you. No, I'm sure she's just misplaced my email. It's fine. It's fine. We're okay. And I decided to start like a new segment to my channel. I basically wanted to make a what pisses me off, but I don't know if that can be the title because, you know, YouTube likes to suppress anything that is slightly like not completely PC, but also now it suppresses it if it is child friendly. So I really don't know what is happening. I just thought it would be rather interesting if I made a video basically ranting about shit. There's so much. I realise I have an entire list about things I could rant about. There's a reflection in my glasses, so I guess I'll take this off and I guess we can get into it. I actually, as I started to video this, I actually do not know what I haven't actually decided yet what I was going to do for this episode. I think what would be really cool to do people that really piss me off. First episode, TERFs. So, I haven't really spoken about TERFs too much, but TERFs are trans exclusionary radical feminists. I've been ranting to myself in my own head about these people for way too long, and I thought, you know what, let's rant. And please, if you're a TERF that's watching, please comment down below, because I haven't had a laugh in a while, and if anything, I would like you to comment your most triggered response. Please, just say everything, just anything you need. Try and insult people as much as possible, because I haven't had a chuckle for a while, and I'm sure a lot of you guys would love a chuckle. So please, you know, even send me DMs telling me how stupid I am and what you think about how, like, ooh, trans women are trying to impose on real women's rights. Please put that in the comment section down below, because I would really enjoy that. Anyway, I am going to become a controversial topic base in these weekly episodes because I just want to rant. I just want to have a rant and live my best life. Where is my phone? Where is my phone? You know what really started me? I just remembered what really started me thinking about this whole thing and me internally getting angry at the internet, as everyone does, was basically someone put a tweet, Lara Adams Miller, whatever the fuck their name is. They said, "It pisses me off that a lesbian was, without her consent, put in a position where she was supposed to publicly affirm this person's gender." Oh no, my nervous twitch is coming back. As part of this like crisis I'm having, I've developed a nervous twitch, so this eye just goes like this for like a little while. So if that happens, I'm not having a stroke. I'm fine. It just happens now. I'm dealing with it with chocolate. Ooh, chocolate. I'm dealing with that, okay? You don't need to worry about me. Laura Adams Miller says The Guardian arranged a blind date between a lesbian and a trans-identified male without making the lesbian aware her date was trans. Remember, it was a blind date, to be later written up in this huge publication that's a lot of pressure to not be tagged as a transphobe. Okay. I understand it's a blind date, and I understand there's this whole thing, and I've made videos on it before with like preferences to do with like how like people have preferences where they prefer not to date trans people. It's a preference, apparently. But if you set someone up on a blind date with someone who, for example, a lesbian, cis woman gets set up on a blind date with a lesbian or bisexual or whatever trans woman, and it's a blind date for that matter, they go on this blind date, they have conversations, it may or may not come up in topic of conversation. What do they think is going to happen? What do they think is going to happen to this poor person, this poor lesbian person? God forbid they go on a date with a trans woman. What do they think is going to happen? Like, do they think immediately that person is going to feel like assaulted by the fact that they are sitting across a table to a trans woman? This is a blind date. This isn't like, they aren't like putting them in a room together to have sex. Like, I understand it probably, like, I personally think it should come up, not personally think, it definitely should come up before you actually, you know, have, otherwise it might be a bit surprising to another person. Like, I will always mention before anything at all, any sort of sexual relations happen, I mention that I'm trans. I make sure it's known what is happening, what's going on, where we stand. But it's a blind, I don't understand. This person is a TERF. This is an example of one TERF. There are many TERFs. TERFs are found all over, but this one particularly I happened to bump into. Computer, shut up. The background has to go, I'm very sorry. Okay, so another tweet. As long as women don't have single-sex spaces, trans-ID'd men don't have to feel like not women when they're excluded from them. They prefer access, but destruction also works to... It makes no sense what you are saying. The more I think about this, the angrier I get. That makes two of us. Not only are the most marginalised and underprivileged women the worst affected, women in prisons, women whose trauma and faith means that without men-free zones they are effectively excluded from public life. It isn't... Okay, the whole thing about TERF people is basically that trans women are not women. That is their whole thing. So I kind of maybe want to have, like, I don't know, maybe I should just have a look at an explanation of why they say that trans women aren't women. My fire alarm's going off? What is this? What is my existence? You know what, I'm just gonna let myself burn. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'll survive. Okay, fire alarm's turned off, but I have about 5 minutes till I'm burnt alive, so I better get on with this video. Okay, so The Guardian is actually one of the things that they wrote about this blind date that the trans woman and the cis lesbian woman had together, and they just wrote about it. They didn't even mention the whole, like, that she was a trans woman. They just mentioned how lovely their date went. It was all nice until this TERF basically said, oh, yo, how come you didn't disclose that this person was trans? Why would you not do that? Do you know what could happen? The world could explode. And as a summary of what the cis lesbian who was in the date basically said was, don't use me for your TERF propaganda. And the TERF woman, Lara, went off on one for too long that I cannot be asked to continue reading. My life is short, it's very late, and I'd like to sleep, and my eye is twitching again. Jenny Murray says trans women shouldn't call themselves real women. So she says it's not transphobic or anti-trans at all. And this is a thing that I see in a lot of communities, or not communities, a lot of people who literally basically are some sort of phobic. They say, I'm not transphobic, but... And then they say something that is basically along the lines of that, especially TERFs. And then I'm like, why can't you stop being such a pussy and just own up to being that? Just own it. Own the hate, my friend. Stop being such a little bitch. And I know people are going to get mad at me using the word bitch because it's derogatory to women and marginalises their community, but like, you're being a bitch, so what can I say? Maybe if you stop being a bitch and just allowed trans women to live their best lives as the women that they are, then I wouldn't have to make this video ranting at you and then laughing at you, because honestly, much like most of the other segments that are going to be on this new section to my channel, you are a joke. So Jenny Murray says, be trans and proud, but don't call yourself a real woman. Can someone who's lived as a man with the privilege that entails really lay claim to womanhood? It takes more than a sex change and makeup. I know that in writing this article, I'm entering into the most controversial and at times vicious, vulgar and threatening debate of our day. I'm diving headfirst into a deep and dangerous waters. If there was a trans woman's gonna come up and shank you, like, you'll be fine. There are a few funny little things where TERFs have been like, oh, trans men are women that are ashamed about their womanhood because of misogyny and marginalisation, and to that I say, like, life was so much easier when I was just living my best woman life. But it wasn't me, and I could tell that, and it was so much easier to not have to explain all these different things, like me being bisexual and a trans man, or pansexual and a trans man, and whatever, and all these other different labels that I have to explain to people, because no one really is educated on this stuff enough for me to not have to explain my life every single day. And the same for like trans women. You think that they're doing this, like, for example, if men have all of these extra privileges which has been sort of systemically placed into society, then why on earth would a trans woman choose to sort of give up that privilege and go into the, you know, I'm sure you'll answer me in the comments why a trans woman would decide to give up that amazing male privilege and make her way into womanhood. I understand feminism, but TERFs are not feminism. That shit be something else. It's a different experience of being a woman and getting there. You know, it's maybe like a long step to being like for example, I'm a man with extra steps. It just takes extra steps to us to get into our sort of physical form of us being comfortable, at least. Anyway.
Abuse for what I do.
It's extremely frightening that he's a woman, and that if I don't accept that, I'm a Nazi.
Like, where are you finding these people and these scenarios? Because I don't ever really take a side on most things. I'm definitely not on the TERFs side, though, I'm telling you that.
Issue so toxic, violence has erupted.
These radical feminists, they'd lost the plot.
Trans women are, by definition, male.
We know that 80% have penises.
See, but that stuff incites that we are not true to our identities. I understand the definition of man is not the way that I call myself a man. The definition is to do with sex and chromosomes and stuff, but nowadays the world is more about definitions. It's more than definitions, and we've transcended all of these sort of binary and definitive, like, old roles of society and expression and identity and everything, and it's the modern world, and we're still relying on definitions that were created back when a lot of LGBT people weren't allowed to live in common society freely. That sounds really hippie of me, but
Not your fight.
It's the fight for the right to be a woman.
plus, okay, I understand they are cis women, but how is it their right to decide what woman is? I understand it's very complicated. People just want it to be simple. People want it to be, you're born this way, this and that. It makes life easier for them if it's simple, but it's not that simple. Trans people are a small, very, very, very small percentage of the population, but like they're acting as though their definition is the ultimate definition and what they think is the ultimate thought, whereas and I don't understand how it's affecting them, whereas trans women, it is affecting their lives because they are just trying to live. Oh my god, I can't even. This isn't going to get anywhere because people are stupid, and stupid people are everywhere. Not every stupid person is a TERF, but every TERF is a stupid person, and I literally, oh my god, okay, cool.
rooms and we protest about changing rooms, but those aren't the big deals, are there? It's places where women are vulnerable that are a big problem. So prisons and hospital wards and refuges are a massive issue.
Trans women, especially trans women of colour, are some of the most vulnerable women out there, and you are going to hate that I said that. And yes, there are a lot of attacks and vulnerability just in the, you know, women population in general, but trans women, because of this negativity that you're putting out there, are in so much danger, very vulnerable, and they need a space as well. And what are you going to do? You're going to put every single trans person in a separate space? Or are we going to separate out all of the different identities, put them in separate spaces so that none of them clash or assault each other? A trans woman is the same as any other women who need a safe space, are looking for those safe spaces, and you don't have to separate them to be in harmony, because trans women are just women, just a different... Anyway, you're all cunts, and I will not you guys, I mean, you know, the TERFs. I love you guys. Please subscribe, and if you're a TERF, you can dislike if you want. I won't blame you. But I will blame you for just about everything else. And you're going to hell. And I don't believe in hell, but I wish there was a hell for you to go to. Please subscribe. There'll be more rant videos like this. I'm on a roll, mate. I have so many things to rant about. Oh, anti-vaxxers, that shit's next. Oh. Thank you guys for watching. Bye, my lovelies. Wow, I am a mess. Bye.